Katie McLaughlin is in that photo, correct?
Yes, along with a bunch of other friends.
Of course, there are other friends, but you...
Misty and Eddie, please no more, of course.
Of course, you're on. You have never been in a hot tub with Colin Albert, correct?
Not that I know of, no.
You show him how you would throw a punch?
I don't remember that, no.
Who are your college roommates?
At some point, did you flip him around?
Yes, I just said that here as well.
Did you clench your fists that night? And I appreciate the fact that you're paying attention. At least one of us is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get overwhelmed easy, so.
I'm not going to make up a time. I don't remember.
It wasn't going 50 miles an hour, correct?
I mean, I didn't have a radar gun on me, but no.
Did you squat down, show him how you want to get low?
More of an acquaintance, was he not?
That's correct.
I'm going to ask, what do you consider an acquaintance? How would you define that term?
I saw it pull up, stopped, pulled up again, stopped, pulled up again by the flagpole, stopped. That's all I saw.
There were 7 of you in a hot tub together, correct?
I don't think I would call it play fighting, no.
I don't know what you mean by this case.
You and the Alberts and the McCabe's celebrating the indictment of Karen Reed. Has anybody in this courtroom today asked you about the other mutual friends who were there? With your fists clenched, correct? Just today, after 12 noon on May 14th of 2024, correct?
Lally asked me how big it was, so I just told him right now, yeah.
It looked similar to Karen.
Right here, I could easily see.
A black object, yes.
I mean, you'd have to split it up and quantify what conversations were about the actual case and what conversations have been the harassment we've faced since then.
Well, she's high maintenance. I didn't really want to have to deal with it.
She's not a close personal friend of mine.
Yeah.
Isn't that correct?
Okay, if I said that, yes, because I was not sure. I'm still not sure that if he was there or not.
But I also was not looking out my window.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Did anybody in this courtroom ask you if you were looking out your window?
Objection, Your Honor.
Correct?
I wouldn't be staring at her grass, so no.
Okay. I didn't ask you where you were staring. I was just asking if there were any obstructions.
I believe in one portion of it, I was fooling around with Brian Higgins.
Fooling around?
That was an answer to a question that nobody asked you, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
You grab him in a wrestling hold?
I'm talking about what happened on January 28th and January 29th.
But there's really nothing to talk about those specifics, no, because we have nothing to say about that. We weren't part of it.
Hey, how's it going out there? Can y'all hear me? So whose trial is this really? I mean, that's the burning question. It does seem like the entire town of Canton, the paramedics and everybody is on trial, and the Queen is there to stare them down and smirk at them. I don't know. So as I looked at, as I watched, I think Brian Albert's testimony, I think there were things in there that made people, question some things. And I mean, like his phone situation, and I might not have it right because I didn't go back and check. I was kind of watching it. There was a lot there. So the phone situation, I think it says that he upgraded his phone like the day before or something. Why is this zooming in? And so I believe that that's what it is. Like he upgraded the day before, which to me says, I mean, there's two things. First of all, if there was anything incriminating related to a murder on his phone, he wouldn't have kept it for 8 or 9 months, right? He would have destroyed the phone immediately. So if he did get wind of them coming for his phone and him upgrading right before that, I think it would be something that's not related to this case, but something that he just doesn't want out in the public. I don't know. It's whatever. I think a lot of people would be kind of a little nervous about just handing over their phone to someone who's already kind of put people's phones on blast, like what they did with Jen McCabe's data that we'll find out soon that is not accurate. But just like blowing things out of proportion, like, oh, you called this person at this time and blah, blah, blah. We know that what they were going to do with the phones. They weren't going to, be honest about it. They were going to twist things and find things that they could use in the phone. And so that's probably what he was worried about. Or he had personal things on there, or, something completely unrelated. We don't know. Or he really did just upgrade his phone at that time. There's a lot of options. But none of them lead me to believe that it was because, they had murder text messages in the phone. Even if there were messages that still would be recoverable, the feds still got into their phones. The feds still were able to see their phone calls. And the feds probably went into everyone's phone. And the feds can do that at any time. And, which is interesting. You think you have privacy. Apparently you don't. So the feds just can get into Snapchats. They can get into phones. They can get into whatever they want if they need to look into something. And so we know that they did get into the phones because we know that they, the whole butt dial thing. So, I mean, that just tells me that there was something else on the phone if he was trying to obscure some information, but it doesn't sound like he even was, because he just went to like AT&T and got a new phone. So like everything gets carried over. I mean, there's probably certain artifacts that are kept in your phone, deletions probably wouldn't carry over to the new phone. But the fact that the murder happened like 8 months before, I don't think that would be the reason. Otherwise it's the slowest cover up in history. I mean, come on. So I guess like the basement talk with him, I don't know. And like I saw some other people reporting that. So I don't believe they asked questions, and like tell me if I'm wrong, about the basement floor being done over. I mean, it's hard because there's so much misinformation out there. Like I don't know if I heard it on a webcast or something where they were saying that the toilet overflowed. I know Turtle Boy's been saying that for a long time. I don't know if that actually happened. So if they didn't ask him about it, I don't think that it's a thing. Because they would have asked Brian Albert about it. So I'm kind of thinking that it wasn't a thing, or it wasn't in the time frame that we were told it was, or it happened before. So I was trying to look for that too, because I'm like, wait, because I heard someone talking about it as if that was part of the testimony, and I'm like, I didn't think that they covered that. I don't think they asked him about that. And so if he's off the stand, both of the homeowners are off the stand. They're not going to ask it. Who else are they going to ask it to? So I guess it wasn't a thing. I guess that was a hoax too. Unless someone knows different. So I did hear about the septic issue, but was that brought up in the trial? Or was that, I just can't remember the timeline too. Did it happen? Okay. So I thought I did hear about the flooded basement, but I wasn't sure what the timeline was though, if it was after the John O'Keefe thing or not, or if it happened like years ago. I just wasn't sure. Oh, the prosecution asked about it. Carpetwood because of a leak. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much misinformation out there that it's even things that I'm trying to look at everything with a critical eye, and a lot of things I'm getting tripped up with. Like, I believe certain things about Colin Albert that, the whole Nebuchadnezzar thing, I didn't think that was enough for a motive, but I did think that it was true that he had problems with Colin Albert cutting through his lawn and all that. And, that turned out to be, part of the propaganda machine. And I just saw, when I was coming on this live, I saw another one, someone else was doing a live about the Tristan and Caitlin web of lies or something. And I was just like, oh my God, that's what we're doing now? It's like every person in this case is getting crucified, and it's so abnormal. I don't really get it. I mean, I don't know. It's just odd as like a creator, like that you would take that angle where you're just gonna, crucify obviously innocent people just for, to push propaganda to, get more likes and clicks and views. It's odd. It's kind of weird. So Brian Albert, what was the other things? So his phone upgrade, the whole Higgins thing. So, I mean, him and Higgins did seem very like chummy at the bar, but at the same time, he was saying he wasn't a close friend, or maybe he's like a new friend. But Higgins does work in Canton, so he's close by, he's local. And, maybe they just recently became closer friends. I'm not sure. But then at the same time, he's never been at the house before, or maybe one time he was at a graduation party. So, I mean, I guess it's weird. I guess it's just because they drove back from New York together. So he was already in Canton hanging out. And that's the reason that he came back to the house that night. And it does seem like that's true because a lot of people testified that he was looking at pictures in the other room, which is usually something you do the first time that someone comes by your house. Is like you're showing him the son in the military, that kind of stuff that he's interested in, because I think he was in the military too, Navy or something. So it does sound legit. And the way that there were so many people at that house, and the defense is trying to play it off like, oh, like, could they have snuck away? Like, they might not have been in the kitchen with everybody else, but it sounds like it's like kind of an open floor plan, and it's a big house. So, where did they go? And they keep alluding to the basement. So, I mean, what is the theory at this point? I mean, we haven't even talked about the phone data yet in the trial, and the phone data shows that he didn't go in the house. So they keep talking about the basement. I mean, is that the reasonable doubt? They're going to say he could have slipped in, when there's 11 people in the house, he could have slipped in through the front door and down the basement stairs. But it sounds like if they were sitting, so the way that Brian Albert Jr. described it, when he was sitting at the door, he could see the upstairs because, his back was to the windows. But that would tell me that you could probably see the cellar too. I don't know if they actually questioned him that, but I mean, it seems like there's no way that, a big ass guy came through that house, walked by, if you pretty much can see everything from that dining room table that a lot of them were sitting at. Like, he didn't slip in and slip down the basement. And I mean, I just don't know what their theory is. And then, like, what Chloe got out when she was going to the bathroom. And are they trying to say it happened in the yard? But then they're trying to say at the same time, they're also trying to be like, oh, well, did you see Colin leave the house? Like, hello, it's winter. People aren't going to be standing outside waiting for a ride. So, like, if he was getting up and walking to the door, that means the ride was there. I mean, it's just like common sense, but it's like, is this the reasonable doubt that they're going for? Is that, okay, maybe Colin, Chloe, or Brian Higgins had a moment to like slip outside and kill John O'Keefe with Karen Reed's taillight. Is that really what we're gonna go with? Because I mean, I think we know now that the taillight wasn't planted, right? So I mean, and I'm seeing a lot online too. I don't think we've gone over yet in the trial about the CERT team discovering stuff the same day. We only talked to the first responders so far, and they didn't find taillights yet. So a lot of people are saying, oh, the taillight wasn't found till like 4 days later, which is not true. That other officer found a piece of the taillight, but I believe that same day when the CERT team arrived around 4:30, they found the shoe and parts of the taillight. I think maybe the hat, or maybe the hat was found like a day later down the street or something. I can't remember, but I mean, if you think about a plow coming by, whatever happened in the street, if they were allowing plows to come by, it was going to push it all over the place, or it could push it way down the street. And then when the snow melts, that's when you would find it. And yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. It's just the whole smoke and mirrors thing, because like there is nothing that is coherent at this point. So we had Brian Albert Sr. I was surprised that he was so squirrely with the prosecution. Like, I felt like he part of it could be that he testified in front of the federal grand jury, which means, you can be charged with perjury if you're testifying differently in your state testimony. And I think that older people have a much harder time recalling things, what they said, and that kind of thing. That's what I saw, especially with the kids, because the kids were pretty sure about what they said. And the stuff that they didn't remember, they were very sure that, I'm not even going to try to remember that. I don't know where I got beers from 2 years ago on that night. I thought it was a little ridiculous, some of the questions they were asking. And I think it was to call into question their credibility, their memory. Like, would you remember? I mean, I don't remember, especially dates. Like if an event didn't occur on a certain day, I really wouldn't remember the specifics, like the stuff that they're going for. It's like, yeah, I remember I went to, a park with these 3 people, but do I remember what I had for lunch that day before I got there? Do I remember what I did after exactly? Do I remember texts or calls that I made? No. And so, like, if they weren't questioned about these things right away, I wouldn't think that their memory would be that good. But they're definitely going to recall key details. Key details being like Julie Nagel seeing the car out front, and then the blob on the front lawn. I just think that the problem here is that they indicted her on manslaughter within a few days. And then they did the second grand jury. And at that point, I feel like they weren't investigating anymore. And so, like, they had enough for the indictment for murder. Whoever testified there, they kind of just like stopped at that point. And because she admitted it to so many different people, I know they have the Good Samaritan is going to testify that she admitted it again. All the first responders. I mean, there's taillight. I don't know what else they had at that. And all the eyewitness testimony. And so at that point, I think they were just thinking, okay, that's it. Investigation over. Like, we're going to get a guilty plea. Or like, this is enough. They didn't know that she was going to hire like 500 grand worth of attorneys to kind of fight it. And, but I don't know. So I think because there are things that are concerning, like Tristan Morris wasn't interviewed for a long time, like until like a couple weeks right before this trial. So it's like, I mean, that's just weird to me because it's like, why wouldn't you be worried about what he's going to say, especially with all this stuff going on? If it was a normal trial, maybe it would be, whatever. I feel like that's part of it too, is like Lally doesn't want to be accused of coaching them in any way. So he's not doing his normal, because I think DAs normally do kind of prep people more than what he's doing. Like, I think it's odd that like the redheaded girl is saying she thinks Colin left at like 11:45 to 12 or something. Because it's like, unless it's because she testified to that before, but I don't think maybe she did. I think she did testify in a grand jury before. And maybe she has to keep it consistent. But that's just so odd to me. Because it's like, you can estimate a time, but then once you see timestamps or cell phones and you're like, oh, I remember that event happening. So it must have happened after that. You're like, that certain people arrived at a certain time. So what happened after that. Like, I don't know. It's just weird that. And I think it is partly because they're being crucified about the, coaching the witnesses or whatever. They just want to make sure that they're letting the witnesses just do whatever they want. But I don't know. I don't know what the jury feels about it. Yeah, I think Tristan, I thought he, I thought he was a very realistic witness where he's like, I have no idea. I'm not going to make up a time. I don't know. Because like he barely remembers. He just knows he picked her up that night in the snow. That's it. Like, there was no like event that would make him recall specific details. And so I think, who else was there? So Bryant Albert Jr., I thought that he did a really good job. I think he was extremely believable. So he said that he saw tire tracks in the snow. I think that was the one thing that they were kind of challenging him on, was could he see tire tracks in the snow? So what does that say? Is the defense trying to state that Colin hid in the basement, lured in by Higgins and Brian Albert, beat up, attacked by a dog, and then through the back door put him in the yard? Yeah. Thanks, B Tim. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know what their closing argument could possibly be at this point. And depending on what's gonna show up, I just can't imagine what they're gonna try to say. Because I feel like people are definitely believing the kids. I feel like all of the kids were extremely credible and were kind of just like, I don't know, like, stop asking me. Like, and that is kind of the attitude you would have in that situation. It's like, you're asking me to recall what kind of beer or things that people were drinking, exactly what time people left from 2 years ago. No, you're going to remember certain key conversations, and that's about it. And so I thought that Brian Albert Jr., like, the way that he just, I don't know, the way that he recalls things, I just felt like was very realistic. And like, when she was trying to like catch him up on things, he'd be like, no, actually, that's what I'm saying now too. No, actually, I can see the stairs from here. Like, he corrected her. And like, a lot of the witnesses aren't doing that. They're kind of just like getting beat down at a point, and then just kind of like letting the the defense roll with whatever they're going to try to say. So I thought that he did a really good job, and I thought that it was kind of funny how he was like, I don't know what case you're talking about. Are we talking about this case or the harassment case? Because they're not supposed to bring that up. And the witnesses can bring it up, but the attorneys are not supposed to bring that up. I don't think either side wants that stuff in, because I think it's just too much. It's going to muddy the waters too much. But the judge did say, well, I'm not going to like stop witnesses from saying if that's a reason behind why they did certain things. And I think that it's going to come in. It's going to come in because I just think a lot of them formed friendships with people that they weren't friends with before because of the harassment. Like, I think Elizabeth Proctor and Jen McCabe became friends after being harassed. I think Carrie and Jen McCabe probably became friends after this. And so when they're asking them in the way he said, like, how often do you talk about this case? And he was kind of like, well, we don't say anything about this case. We don't have any part of this. We only talk about the harassment part. And I mean, I think that's pretty accurate, because like, really, what are they going to talk about? They don't know what happened out the front of their house. So has he been back since he got kicked out? Thanks, Andy. I know, I remember he got kicked out the other day, and then they told him he's not allowed in during certain witnesses. So maybe he came in. I don't know which witnesses are on his list. I think it's probably the Alberts, probably all the Alberts, and definitely the McCabes. Tristan must not be on that list because he was harassing him last week. So I'm not sure. I wonder. I mean, I'm just surprised that, thinking back on how bad it was, like when I see some of the videos now of him like going to Julie Nagel's house, and like now, like, you have some perspective around it. Like, Julie Nagel is just some girl that's friends with Brian Albert Jr. She was just there hanging out, and when she was asked questions, she answered them, and that's it. And so the way that Turtle Boy like went to her house and with hundreds of people and was like, this is where Julie Nagel lives and she's covering up from murderers and all this stuff. I mean, the intention clearly was to get people to back off and to change their testimony. I mean, it's clear as day. They thought that they could intimidate people into changing their testimony. And I think that some of the people, like the Camarados, just really did not want to say anything. They didn't want any part of the harassment. And so, like, whether they're going to, change their testimony, I don't know, but I feel like they were backing away from saying certain things. So we don't really know if things maybe would have been different, but the intention of the harassment is definitely there. It was to get people to try to change, to, not testify. They thought they could do it. They thought that they could harass people. Like Julie Nagel was a main target because she's the one that said she saw a black object, a black blob in the front yard. And a lot of people that I've talked to are like, that testimony was like very damning today. Because all those kids just seem like, it's just so unbelievable. I mean, for one, I don't think that anyone thinks that any of those kids, Brian Albert Jr., Julie Nagel, or Sarah Levinson, would be involved with the murder if it did happen, right? So now I think that's kind of a fact at this point. So now for people to believe that he was killed inside the house, they have to believe that somehow they snuck him in the house without that group seeing, which it just doesn't seem possible. It seems like, unless they took him to the bulkhead or something. Like, I don't know. In the way that they're like, oh, well, did you know if Brian Higgins was still there? Could Brian Higgins have been outside? I feel like they're kind of changing where he wasn't in the house, but then they keep mentioning the basement at the same time. So it's like very confusing. I don't think they have a clear conspiracy theory together at this point. I think they believe that they're just going to throw out whatever shit and see what sticks. Because there might be one juror that's just going to be like, she just didn't do it. I don't care. And so, I don't know. I just don't know what they're going with. Like that, Colin Albert was like hiding outside in the cold to ambush his neighbor for no reason. Or like Brian Higgins was like wanting to get Karen in the house. But I mean, it just does not make any sense because the location where John O'Keefe was killed, Karen would have been right there, right? So if he was ambushed by Brian Higgins or Colin Albert, she would have been right there. And so I don't think she was. So, I mean, at this point, it's kind of like, what do they think is going to happen? Yeah. Well, yeah. So Michael Proctor. So I feel like they're laying out the foundation of the witnesses now. And I just think it's such BS. And the way that Turtle Boy is just going on court TV and saying, oh, it's his First Amendment rights. And they're doing this to him because he is speaking the truth. Like, it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable that like places like that are still giving him a platform, because court TV, they know. I don't believe for a second that they don't understand what's going on here. But also it's clicks and likes, that's ratings. It's the same thing. So I don't know anything about this, but Jessica Mikado, I know that's a Turtle Rider. Assault and battery and sexual harassment charge against Grant. I mean, is that for fighting at the courthouse? I know that they're always fighting. I know that he said that he was assaulted or something the other day, so I have no idea what the deal is with that. So sequestering a jury for 2 months. I mean, yeah, I don't know how you can. So they're still calling it a sequestered jury. No, they're calling it not a sequestered jury. they're calling it sequestered, like the witnesses can't be in the courtroom, but it's weird. It's like, I wonder if it's like a rule that they're told that they can't listen to like court TV or any of the broadcasts, because when they come in, they always ask them like, have you watched any of this testimony? And they say no. And I'm just like, I don't know if I believe that, because I cannot imagine, like, if I was testifying on a bit high profile case, not watching it, like just being completely oblivious and just going in there blind. I don't know if they try to like make them agree to that, or if it just looks bad if they say that. I don't know. I just don't know how you can really sequester a jury these days if it's a higher profile case, because no matter what, it's going to be on the news. Like when they go out to eat at the end of the day, they're going to see it. It's going to be, especially a case like this, it's probably all over the local news. Everyone's watching it in the bar. So, I mean, I know. I think it's unbelievable how anyone that testifies in this case is getting harassed. And I mean, you have to think these people are telling the truth, right? Like, for the most part, they are speaking what they believe to be the truth, their version of what happened. And so for them to just be getting this kind of harassment, it's odd. Like, it's really weird that people are just kind of, because they got that propaganda machine from Turtle Boy for like a year. So now people are just like convinced, or like, because you believed it at one point, you can't look at the other side because it's become such a team sport. Like, I think that's part of it. Yeah, I know. I just, nothing makes any sense. It's like Colin and Higgins at the same time. But honestly, like, none of those kids. So Colin was there hanging out with us, and the kids that we've seen so far, they just seem like very normal kids. And so Colin is friendly with those kids. Like, Colin's the same type of kid generally. I mean, he plays football, so maybe he's a little bit different, but like, it was a Friday night, and those are the kids that he decided to spend his time with, and they all seem like good, normal kids. So like, I don't know. I just don't think that I don't think people are going to believe that Colin had anything to do with it. If it really was just a fight that randomly broke out, then, that could happen to anybody, but that's not what it has to be at this point. I think originally it was kind of that it was a fight that got out of control. But at this point, I think everyone believes all the kids. So there was not a fight inside the house. So now it has to be that John O'Keefe was ambushed, either dragged down the basement or ambushed outside in front of Karen. And neither one of those things make any sense at all. Yeah, I'm hoping that, I mean, that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if she was trying to get help from him at first, but I feel like they would have maybe leaked that out. I wonder, though. I really do wonder, because he was not something that was on, I don't know. At first, at least, he wasn't on the radar of people being attacked. And so I just wonder what's in those texts. Thanks, Tim. Oh yeah, I think that it's super aggressive the way that he's talking to them. I think it's a real put off, because they're not on trial. And I mean, what are they going after them for? Like, he really was hammering Caitlin Albert, and I just thought it was really gross, because it's like, what is your definition of an acquaintance versus a friend? And like, what does it even matter? What does it even matter at this point? Because Karen went on TV and said she hit him. A bunch of other people heard her say it. The people that from Good Samaritan are going to say that she said it. So it's just bizarre. I mean, so Caitlin Albert, do I believe that? I don't know. I feel like, how would she not have seen any of the testimony? Maybe she didn't see the testimony, but like, she definitely saw social media. She definitely saw people going after Katie McLaughlin. So it's like hard to believe that she wouldn't have watched to see what she was saying. I don't know though. I don't know. Like, I don't know if they're not allowed to watch it or if they have to, like, it doesn't, like, when they swear to tell the whole, oh, I guess that's part of it. Swear to tell the whole truth. And they're saying they didn't see it. So maybe they didn't. I don't know. But the way and Yannetti is kind of getting, Yannetti at first, I was like, Alan Jackson is the one that's like going way too far with the paramedics and stuff, like just being so accusatory towards them when they're just doing their job. But now Yannetti's starting to do it. And I thought with Caitlin Albert, I thought was really, really gross. Because it's not even, she's not a criminal. She's not even involved at all. All she was there. And it's just unreal that you're gonna like talk to witnesses that way. And then like Tristan Morris, like, did you clench your fist that night? Because he's in a picture, like, I guess clenching his fists with a bunch of the Alberts and the McCabe's. And then they asked if it was to celebrate Karen Reid's indictment. And he was just like, I don't know. It's unbelievable. I honestly don't think that it doesn't seem like anyone disliked Karen. I mean, now I'm sure they do, but back when it happened, it wasn't like they framed her. I mean, it's just such an unbelievable story. There was a train that was nearby their house. If they really wanted to get rid of a body, they would have put a body on the train tracks, and that's it. They're not going to put a body with their DNA all over it on their front lawn. And so, like, depending on who they think did it, I mean, they're being so accusatory towards Brian Albert, but that means that, okay, so Brian Albert and Colin Albert, that was like the original theory, but now it's Higgins. So what is the motive? Colin Albert doesn't have a motive. So I feel like for them to keep harping on him, it's so gross. It's getting old. I don't know what they're gonna even say was his motive. I mean, are they still gonna say it was like the Nebuchadnezzar thing? Because I just feel like Chris Albert's testimony I felt like he was believable about that. And the things that people get nervous about, it might come off like maybe they're not telling the truth, but it's also like those are the hot button issues that they know are going to come up, like Colin Albert's whereabouts, the phones being updated, like any of the stuff that was like a hot button, like salacious article from Turtle Boy or a story in social media. Those questions are going to make them nervous. They're going to get nervous about that stuff. So it doesn't mean that they're not telling the truth. I think that Yannetti was getting extremely frustrated today. Alan Jackson was getting really frustrated with Brian Albert yesterday. Yannetti was getting really frustrated today. I thought Tristan Morris was like punking him though. I just thought it was funny. Because he's like, I'm not going to tell you a time. I just don't know. And I don't know. But then, he's like, oh, did the Albert tell you to not give any times today? Like, the kid just does not want to say a time because he does not have, the memory, or he hasn't looked at a text, or he hasn't, because I mean, that's the only way that I would know what time something happened is if I have a digital, like if a TV show, I mean, TV, everything's streaming now, so it's not even a TV show. Back in the day, it would be like if a TV show was on, that's how I would know what time it was. But nowadays, it's like texts. It's if the sun was out. But other than that, I really don't know. I think all of us lose time all the time, just the way that the world is, like being on our phones and social media. You really don't know. Like time just flies by. You don't even realize it. So I don't know what the drama is with Grant, but it looks like there's a lot going on. So yes, the mainstream media, I'm not sure if they're on her side, or I think they just want to do a balanced story. Because like when I look at their what is it called? They're thumbprints, thumbnails. It's all scary pictures of Karen. Like it's not like it's not like the pretty pictures. And the thing is, like in Brian Albert's testimony, when he was like, it was a woman that looked like Karen, it could have been Karen, but I wasn't sure. Like I think he's being honest because Karen looks really good sometimes and she looks really bad sometimes. And it like she looks 100 years older sometimes and she looks really good sometimes. And it's like, I don't know if it's like sleep, maybe it's just the age. You know, if you don't get enough sleep or if you drink too much, you're just gonna look like Skeletor. I don't know. So I kind of believe I know what he's saying with that because like today I thought Karen looked terrible. I think she looked really good. I've seen her in a few pictures, few days when she's looked really good, and so I don't know. Thank you, Lou Lemorocco. I don't know. So I think that he's being honest about that. And what dictates if you've met somebody? Was he trying to distance himself? I mean, they really harped on that. The first time that Brian Albert was interviewed, he said he didn't meet her, but then he clarified it and said, like, well, maybe he did one time. It was a girl that looks like Karen, but he wasn't sure. And Alan Jackson harped on that for like a half an hour, saying, well, then you lied. And he's like, no, I clarified the sentence. Like it was my next sentence where I mean, it was just ridiculous. I just thought that made the defense look really bad and desperate. Because, I mean, he was trying to say like, oh, you're trying to distance yourself from the woman that is being accused of killing someone on your front lawn. Maybe he was. I don't know. Like I just don't think that he did know her. Like if he met her once and they didn't really have a conversation, and if you remember her interview where she talked about Brian Albert, and she's like, Brian Albert just seems like he never really wants to be there. So it sounds like he never really did talk to her. And even some of the kids' testimony in the house were saying Brian Albert was really quiet. He didn't say a lot. So he's not like an outgoing person. So would he consider that meeting someone if you never really talk to them? I don't know. I don't know if that counts as meeting someone at a bar when you're with a bunch of people you know and it's like a friend of someone that you just kind of met. So Grant Ellis. He's like a journalist. He's on social media. He's been reporting on Karen Reed for a while, and he really fights with the turtle riders. So, and it's because he's a journalist, but he's a journalist that's, so when I say journalist, like journalism, I would think are balanced. He's on the side of the Commonwealth. Turtle Boy's on the side of Karen Reed. So I don't know if that's, I mean, I guess it's journalism. It's more like editorial because you have an opinion. So they hate him. He's always fighting with them. He's like loud and outspoken, and there's like a lot more of them than there are of him. So it's like him against like 20 of them all the time. But I think he kind of likes it. Yeah, I don't think so. Eva, how is he allowed near the courthouse or the witnesses? Turtle Boy? Yeah, I don't think he should be near the witnesses at all. It's unreal, kind of the harassment and stuff that we've seen. I mean, I was looking through some of the videos and it's shocking the degree of harassment, especially, I mean, Jen McCabe and Colin Albert. Colin Albert, like, I don't think he did anything to him in person, but on social media, it was like really bad. And out front of the father's pizza shop, it was really bad. But I think that people did show up. I think Colin Albert goes to Bridgewater State, and I think people were showing up at his football games and calling him a murderer, so he stopped playing football. I don't think he dropped out of school, but I think he stopped playing football because it's like he's a freshman, and like imagine that kind of attention in like a new school, like your first year. And it does seem like all of them went to Bridgewater. I wonder, because I think that when what's her name? Caitlin was testifying, she was talking about her apartment at Bridgewater. which when you go to school close to home, it's not that big of a deal if people from your high school like are visiting. It does not necessarily have to be your friends. So that's kind of like even more of a reason why it doesn't necessarily mean that the other Katie McLaughlin is her friend. Turtle Boy can be described as legally illiterate, but he calls himself a journalist. Turtle Boy was a teacher. I don't know. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but I think he was 5th grade teacher, and that's probably why he still writes at the 5th grade level. And there was some drama that happened, and then he quit. I mean, there's a bunch of stories. So I think allegedly there was like a game or something, and I don't know if he was fighting with someone or something. There was some kind of threat or something with a woman, and then he was being reviewed about it, and then I think he resigned. But I think he says he resigned because they were going to start fingerprinting or something. I can't remember. It was something like that. Something like he turned it into like government overreach, basically, like he's doing with this case. You know, and that's what Karen Reed has done with this case too. It's kind of like, because a lot of people are sensitive about the government overreach, the government, big government, that kind of thing. So turning your crimes into I'm innocent, it's government overreach. I mean, that's what is going on here in the Turtle Boy harassment case and in the Karen Reed case. And it's working because a lot of people right now are in that, you know, mindset or in that echo chamber of government bad, anarchy good. I don't know, anarchy. Yeah, I don't know. So Lally had to go through the witnesses like this. And so that's what I think too. I think what I've been seeing, so like a lot of the law creators that maybe have not been following the story are kind of like, why are we doing this with the witnesses and not with the witnesses? I think that he's done a good job of debunking all of the conspiracies, and he's showing these witnesses to be credible. So right now he's building the foundation of what the parameters of the facts are, right? And the defense is trying to stretch those parameters at the same time. So the prosecution's trying to show the parameters are that she was outside the house, he never went inside. The taillight fragments were found there, and she said, I did it. And that's all we've gotten from the prosecution so far. And then the defense is trying to say, well, maybe she did go inside the house. Maybe he went into the basement. Maybe, you know, someone ambushed him outside. Maybe the dog bit him. But there's not really a coherent narrative that the defense has at this point anymore. Because, I mean, how are you going to miss this? Like, the dog could have jumped the fence. Because, I mean, I used to have a dog that escapes, and if the dog escapes, and you're running down the street to get it. You're not like, not everyone in the house would have known that the dog escaped. It's not like, oh, it escaped, it attacked and killed somebody, and then it like came back in after peeing. Like, it's just so ridiculous. I mean, I don't know how they're going to pull it together in their closing. I feel like the closing might just be like, this was a bad investigation. I feel like that's a much more like stable thing to say, because this third party culprit thing is just not floating at this point. That's very true. She was the last one to see him alive. She dropped him off alive, and there's no evidence or testimony that he went inside the house. I mean, I think his call log, though, when I was looking at that, I'm confused with the calls. I don't know who was calling who, when she started calling. I mean, I think that's going to give clarity to what happened. And it's weird how, well, Julie Nagel said she pulled up 3 different times. So she pulled up, stopped, Ryan Nagel pulled behind her. So then she pulled up a little more, Then she pulled up a little bit more. So, which is just weird. Like, she was trying to like not go in. And like, I understand to some degree, like, if I was in that situation, because I've been with people that just like to keep drinking, and they wanted me to go into a house with like, it was just like their family and stuff. Like, I'd be like, hell no, I'm not going in there. And so I feel like that could have been part of what was going on. But and then the only other person was Brian Higgins that was in there, who she was trying to hook up with the week before. She definitely did not want to go in that house. Like, was she going to hang out with the kids at the table, or is she going to talk to the guy she was lying to, saying that she was breaking up with John O'Keefe the week before? I mean, Grant is going at 10 p.m. and sleeping there. Damn. A bastardization of the truth. I didn't hear him say that. When did he say that? Did he say that after? Oh, Katie McLaughlin. I was thinking, okay, Katie McLaughlin. I was thinking Julie Nagel. I mean, I don't know why they're dragging Katie McLaughlin. Like, she said what she said, but there's other people that corroborated it. And Karen also corroborated it on TV. So I don't understand why. I mean, it's just such a smoke and mirrors thing. Like, I think it's so obvious. Like, the jury's probably like, who cares what an acquaintance and a friend is? Like, what the hell are you talking about? Because even if she was a friend, even if she was a close friend, she's not going to just go lying like to cover up a murder. I agree with that. The defense is pushing too hard. I mean, so the defense should have they should be saving this energy for the people that they really want to go about. They really want to go at. Which if it's, I mean, and they haven't even picked one yet. It's Colin, but it's also Higgins, and then I guess it's Brian Albert. I kind of feel like Brian Albert's off the hook though at this point. I don't think that people think he's in the third party culprit anymore. I think that people think that maybe it's shady that he got a new phone, but I don't think that people think that he's part of anything. But yeah, Higgins was not talked about. I think that they thought that they could get Higgins at first, and it didn't work out. So I don't think she hit him at that driveway though, because a plow wouldn't have come back yet. So if she hit him at the end of the driveway, it would have had to have been immediately, right? Because Julie Nagel's brother pulled up right behind him, right behind her, like he was following right behind her car. So she couldn't have hit him there unless it was later, unless he got out of the car. I don't know if it looked like it was plowed either, though. I mean, I'm wondering when he got out of the car. I think there is some mystery around, where did he get out of the car? Because I feel like he would have immediately been walking towards the house. So if he got out where he was found, or maybe he was trying to call, he was going to try to call or text, and that's when she hit him. She started to pull away, and then she decided, nope, I'm going to run this guy over. I know, I agree. I think that, and the way that she's smirking when certain things are said, like, oh my God, it just like makes my blood boil. Because, I mean, it's just unreal. I can't even imagine if I was ever in the situation where something like this happened. There's no way in hell that I would be, dragging innocent people through it. I mean, I would want to be defended. I wouldn't want to just get screwed over. I don't think she is, though. I mean, I think that if she just came clean, but she did a lot of shady stuff in the beginning, and I think that's the problem. And that's why she's in the problem. That's why she's in the situation that she's in, because she could have I don't know. I think there's stuff that morning that she did, and it's probably on her phone that we don't know about yet. And that makes it seem that not that it was intentional that it happened, but that she then, but he, if he was not dead yet, which I don't think he was, well, he wasn't pronounced dead, but I don't think he had a pulse. So he could have still been alive. And if she made decisions to, create the story instead of trying to save his life, I mean, that's murder. I'm wondering about the Ford Edge. So I read Lucky Lawford's interview, and it was a white or it was a gray Ford Edge or a beige Ford Edge, and they have black Ford Edges. So I think Brian Albert has a black Ford Edge, I believe, and I think Chris Albert maybe has a black one as well, or Colin or whatever. But Carrie Roberts' car is a white or a beige or a gray Ford Explorer. So I'm wondering if that's the car that he saw. If there really was a car there, I think he could have seen it at that time and got his times mixed up. I mean, I think times are really confusing for people especially if you're just driving a plow around in circles. Like, you notice when the snow picks up, but like if you just have like this general area to plow, like I don't know. We'll see how he does the cross-examination. I wonder if he saw, maybe he didn't see anything at all. But it does look, so when I was trying to watch the body cam, and it did look like the side that John O'Keefe was on did not look plowed, but I think the other side did look plowed. So he might have came down the other side, so didn't see him. But and then he didn't return. He didn't come back down the street because there was a car parked there, which could have been, no, because Brian Higgins drove a Wrangler, I think. Tristan Morris, I don't think he would have been plowing that early because I think it just started snowing when they were all leaving. Maybe it was it was sticking a little bit, but not too much. That's true. Oh yeah, so what were they trying to say? Didn't Turtle Boy say that Tristan had a Ford Edge or something? I feel like they've said everyone's had a Ford Edge at this point. I thought Tristan was funny too. He just seems honest. Like, he didn't give a shit. Like, he's just like, this is what happened. I don't remember. I thought it was funny. Like, he was making Yeti go crazy about the times. I mean, might as well play with them. Yeah, I agree. I think when you add more to it, it's easier to get tripped up because they are playing like the game of the semantics and then be like, oh, well, at this time, so I thought he did a good job. I thought all the kids did really well. Like, they did not seem like they were lying at all. They are soccer moms and dad bodies. They are not unaliving anyone. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine what situation they would be in if. I just can't imagine that any of them would. There's just no motive. Like, that's the whole problem. John O'Keefe, he's the patron saint of Canton. Karen says it herself. Everyone knew about him taking in those kids. He was like a legend in Canton. And so nobody had ill will towards him. He seemed like a nice guy. He was offering to buy everyone drinks, people that were strangers, drinks at the bar. Like, no one had issues with him. And people have been saying lately about him reporting Colin for rugs, and that's always been a lie. He did report it, and it was in a Canton town meeting. They read it in a town meeting, and they said that he did report it, but it had nothing to do with Colin Albert. People just try to tie that together, just like they try to tie his younger brother Dylan cutting through the yard and saying, oh, it was Colin Albert. Like, people are just trying to tie these things into Colin Albert, wrap it up with a bow so that they can say that he is the guy. Just like his black eye picture doesn't even look like he has black eye. And then his knuckles, which was a picture taken like 2 months later, saying, oh, look at his knuckles. He definitely did it. I mean, we don't even see evidence of a punch on John O'Keefe's face. All the paramedics said they saw an egg on his head. And like, I don't see the egg. So maybe it went down by that time. And like, because injuries present themselves later. And I don't know what the cold does to that. But like, or once they were like injecting him with like saline and stuff, it was probably making the injuries show. Because they said he was only with like one black eye, or one eye was black and the other one was a little bit black. So it doesn't look like a punch at all, like at all. And if someone did punch him and it's fractured his skull, they would absolutely have a fractured hand. So it's just, I don't know. I don't know what people are thinking, really. I think people are, I mean, we haven't even seen the evidence yet. And that's the, I mean, I think that's what Lally's trying to lead up to, because he wants to end his case with the evidence, probably. So he's trying to put all these witnesses, because this is like setting the stage. Like, what do we know is true? And I think at this point, for the most part, people are believing he didn't go inside the house. I think that's kind of been established. So at that point, he didn't go inside the house. She was there. She said, I hit him. I mean, what other logical conclusions are there? And so even with just that information, I feel like it looks pretty bad for her. But then when they're going to pull out DNA and the hair and crazy voicemails and a history of being snapping and being crazy, I mean, her voicemails are going to be interesting. I can't wait for that. That's going to be the kicker. Because all the people that are like saying now, like, everyone said she was so lovely at the bar and they were all like affectionate. Yeah. I mean, that's the scary part, is she can love you 1 minute and then run you over the next. So, I mean, we got to hear those voicemails. Yeah, I mean, they seem like a very, very normal, nice family. Because at that age, I was partying much harder than sitting in my house with family member. Like, I kind of wish that I did have a nice family like that, because, you know, you get in a lot of trouble partying like out in the city and stuff. So, I mean, I think they seem like a really nice, mellow family. And there's no way in hell that they are going to be dragging people down the cellar to kill them or inviting people over to the house. But I think that they are so close of a family that outsiders probably have a hard time breaking in. But it seems like they'd accept someone new into their family. So it's just like Tristan was kind of a member of their family. I'm very excited to hear from Kerry Roberts too. Kerry Roberts, Jen McCain. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to come. So we ended with Julie Nagel today. So tomorrow, I don't know. Is it going to be Colin Albert? I mean, they kept him separate. Like, so far, they've been kind of doing families together, but they did keep Colin separate from his parents. I think it might be Colin Albert, though, because he's the other one that was at the house. I don't know. I just don't. It doesn't seem like. It seems like it should be Colin Albert, because like, who else would make sense in the story right now? Because we're talking about everything that happened at the house that night. So Colin Albert's another one that was at the house. Jen McCabe and Matt McCabe were at the house, but they also have more to talk about, the morning and all that. So it does seem like it's either Colin. I just can't think of who else they would have testify. I feel like the Good Samaritan, the people that are going to testify that she admitted it at the hospital, I feel like they're going to come in maybe that will be like the very last thing before the defense's case. I mean, I think that would be like a good way to end. Like you started with admissions to the paramedics, you showed the whole case, you're going to show all the evidence, the voicemails, all the crazy stuff, you have all the eyewitnesses, and at the end you have more admissions. I mean, I feel like that's kind of a good setup. I mean, most murder cases don't even have admissions, and you have 2 sets of admissions to open and close with. Like that's pretty good. That's a pretty solid case. Yeah, I think that there's another criminal charge that's coming. So his case is pending. I don't follow his case at all. I don't know what's going on with it. But I think that there's going to be charges that come for Karen. They're probably waiting for this to be over. And then more charges are going to come out. I don't know. Because I mean, they have her phone, so I feel like they would have given it back. So it seems like they're working on something. I did not see the drama with Grant and TB yesterday. Was it at the courthouse? Probably. So I don't know who we're talking about here, but there's a lot of creators that I really liked, or I didn't. I mean, now I really question them. I'm trying to see who we're talking about, but Truth and Transparency was one that I like followed through the Idaho Fort case, and I don't know, just the stuff that she was the one that had I think she has a live right now that's like the mystery or the lies of Tristan and Caitlin, or something like that, something about what they're hiding or something like that. I'm like, they ain't hiding anything. They literally, she wanted to hang out with her mom and her aunt and, hang out. They're like a close family. I wish my family was that close. I do have a part of my family that's that close, but I am not near them right now. I did find Caitlin to be funny because she kind of knew when the objections were coming, like when they were kind of like bullying her, and I don't think it fazed her. I mean, I just don't know how people don't get pissed off. I would just get so pissed off being asked ridiculous questions like that. Yeah, I mean, I agree that Grant is definitely there, and I have seen him when he's fighting with the mob all the time, but I don't know what the answer. Like, I don't think I would want to be there. Like, or if I was, like, I wouldn't want to engage with people like that. Like, I don't care what those idiots are saying. Like, I just think it's a waste of time, and it's just gonna make you look bad if you're engaging with them on that level. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I did think it was funny when JLR came out and was chasing Karen around and chasing Turtle Boy around. I mean, there are a lot of questions now that her supporters really can't answer. Yeah, I mean, Turtle Boy does get my blood boiling too. I did a video with him once, and my language wasn't the best because it's just frustrating. Like I get very frustrated with people that lie repeatedly, and I think it was before. So when I did the interview, I went on a live with Turtle Boy. It was like in August. It was before any phone data really came out. I don't think I knew. I'm trying to think if we even knew about. I don't know. I don't even know if I had the phone data report, but the main thing that I saw was like Ryan Nagel. Like that's what they were focused on at that time, was like Ryan Nagel said that he didn't see him, so he must have been inside the house. Like that was their whole thing at that time. And I was like, that's not what his testimony said at all. And like other people in the car, I think, did say that they saw 2 figures in the car. So they just focused on that one person's testimony and were trying to like push this narrative that he definitely went in the house. I don't think we did have phone data at that time. So that was like the whole thing. And I was just like, that is literally not what it said. There's no way in hell that, because I mean, if everyone's in on the conspiracy, like it just doesn't make sense. There's no way that you can miss him going in the house. Because I mean, that's what they had to say at the time, is that he went in immediately. And so it would be down the driveway as that car is pulling right behind him. So like as Julie Nagel's looking out the window, as Brian Jr. is looking out the window, that's when he would have come in the house. And, you know, that didn't happen. I'm reading all this drama in the comments. It was, I mean, I believed the cover up for a minute. It was like very short. And I made a couple videos about it. And then once I got the probable cause, I read through it. And I was already kind of questioning the dog bites. I was like, no, those aren't dog bites. And I don't know. I just couldn't get past, like, I didn't realize that it was so many people, because the narrative at the time was that Jen McCabe orchestrated everything. And Katie McLaughlin was a family friend that she said I hit him. But when I read through the thing, I was like, oh my God, there was like a lot of witnesses. I didn't even know Kerry Roberts was even there, because they didn't say anything about her. They said it was all Jen McCabe orchestrating this whole thing. I was like, all right, the niece is in here saying she said this stuff. And it was just like, whoa, I totally got punked. And then I was not going to say anything about it. And then I think she had court like the next day, and I saw that was the first day all the meatballs showed up at court and were like screaming. And Charlie Boy was there with the megaphone, and I was like, oh my God, I have to talk about this. I just thought it was like so gross. Like, imagine like your loved one's murderers going to court and everyone's like cheering them on, bringing them flowers and stuff. Like, it's nasty. I don't know what these people are thinking. Yeah, I don't really understand. I think they're trying to be politically correct to the cover-up movement. You know, those people, they don't want an insurrection at the courthouse when she's found guilty. So I think they're trying to make it, I don't know. It just seems like there could be like a juror on there that's just going to be like, she's innocent no matter what. I hate cops. I feel like they would have weeded those kind of people out of the jury pool, though. So I don't know. I think it's going to be very hard the guilty verdict is going to be hard for them, because it's like, that's someone's life. That's 20 years. I mean, probably 20 years. And then at the same time, the not guilty verdict is going to be really hard for them, because the whole family is like sitting there waiting for justice, and it's in your hands, and they know who did it, and they've known all this time, and that person has put them through hell, has put every witness through hell. And you know, the jury might not know that part. I feel like it's going to come out, though. I just feel like there's certain questions that when they ask Jen McCabe, it's going to be, you know, why were you at Elizabeth Proctor's house that night? Oh, we became friends after getting harassed for a year. And we started talking about the harassment, which I think is very valid. I think that's the truth. Even Brian Albert Jr. was talking about how he was getting harassed. I've never seen anything specific towards him at all. But it might just be, I mean, I don't know what's going on. Like, I know in the community pages, when I first was paying attention, when I was allowed in the Justice for Jen O'Keefe group, they were harassing everybody. I got kicked out of that group as soon as I asked one question, and it was about when they were testing a substance on his shirt. I was like, well, what if it's like paint from the car? And I immediately just got kicked out of the group. I'm like, what the hell kind of group is this? I thought this was Justice for John O'Keefe. No, It's free a killer for Karen Reed. Yeah, I think Colin does bring out some insecurity with TB, because with Turtle Boy, with TB. I feel like he's like, feels like, I don't know. He's a young kid though. And I think that he could definitely kick Turtle Boy's ass. And Turtle Boy was on there saying, oh, I could definitely kick the shit out of Colin. I mean, Turtle Boy's trying to get someone to come after him. He always is. And so he wants to press those buttons. He wants to get it on camera. I just think, yeah, Colin probably represents everything that Turtle Boy wasn't in high school. And I think that's probably the issue. That was funny. I mean, I feel like at that time, they probably weren't. But I feel like now, after all that's happened, I feel like absolutely they would. And I hope they do it when she gets found guilty. I hope they put a picture, and I hope it's on the front page of the paper. I mean, that would make her supporters go nuts, but it would be funny. I mean, that's the burning question. Like, if I don't even understand why she went to Jen McCabe's. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, why would you go? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Why she wouldn't knock on the door, but she didn't knock on the door because she didn't even tell the cops to knock on the door when the cops arrived and his body was there. So she definitely never saw him go in the house. And it's going to be interesting to see how far they tracked her to that address, like, because I know they have tower data. I don't know how accurate it is. It should be fairly accurate because Canton's pretty urban. It's close to Boston, so there should be enough towers. But did she get all the way to Fairview? And did she actually see the body? It sounds like she might have even seen it before that, because she was calling when she was calling, what's her name? Carrie. I think it was before she left the house, or maybe it was after. Maybe she was calling Carrie in the car. So she could have been calling Carrie saying he's dead. I don't know. I think at 5:08 though, and I could have the times wrong. I think that's when we see the car pull out of the driveway, right? So that would mean she has to go to, get to the Fairview road area. And I think everything's only like, it's less than 10 minutes to all these different places. And then she went to Jen McCabe's, but it's like, why did she even drive, period? Like, it just doesn't make sense. That whole morning doesn't make sense. And I think once we hear from Carrie and Jen, it's going to make more sense. Well, it's going to incriminate the hell out of Karen, I'm sure, because it does not make sense. Like, if the weather was bad, because I think she might have went out driving even before that first trip. So I don't know. That's what she said in the Nightline interview. She said she went out driving and then she started calling people. But then maybe she didn't make plans to go to Jen's. I don't know. Like, it sounds like the niece called Jen McCabe on her own, and Karen was in the background screaming. And then maybe Jen got on the phone with her or something. But it's like, how would she even know how to get to Jen's house? I don't know. That whole morning story is going to be very confusing. Yes, Yannetti. And Yannetti sounded... the whole thing is, though, that these people are just obviously innocent bystanders, and to be treating them like that, it's ridiculous. Yeah. So Yannetti is playing to the social media audience, I feel like. Because maybe, I don't know, like at some points, sometimes I feel like they know that they're going to lose. And they're like, well, at least we can get everyone to think it's still a cover up. So they're going to like put all this stuff out continuously, to cater to that. But I'm not sure that she didn't call him. They might not have just put it in the original because they were trying to keep Higgins out of it, I think, at first. Like I don't even think they listed him in the probable cause. I can't remember if they did. I remember there was like suspicion around like Brian Albert and Brian Higgins not being mentioned in the reports or something. I don't remember which reports. So I feel like she might have called him. She might have. I mean, there might be really incriminating things that she said to him. I don't know though. And it might have been, I don't know when he looked. So he looked at the car in the Sally Port. I mean, I feel like he was just trying to figure out what the hell went on, just like everybody else. Because if you think about if it's a cover up, they already know what happened. They shouldn't have any curiosity, right? But the way that they were kind of sitting around the table, like all of that tells you that it's not a cover up, that these are people just trying to like make sense of what just occurred. And so Brian Higgins wanting to know what happened because this chick was trying to hook up with him a week before. She said she was breaking up with their boyfriend, and her boyfriend was just found dead, and they think she did it. So like, he probably just wanted to verify if he should be pursuing this relationship or not. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, the truth does not change. And so that's the thing too. It's like, Karen, were you drunk? I think a lot of people think she was drunk and that it was done by an accident. But I don't know. It doesn't explain how she was already telling people he's dead. He got hit by a plow before she found the body. I mean, I think she was drunk to some degree. I mean, there's times when I don't think that, like, I drank, throughout the night, but I barely felt buzzed. But like when I wake up the next morning, like I felt like I drank the night before. Like I don't remember going to sleep. So I feel like, a lot of people probably don't show that they're drunk. I think that, I don't know. Alcohol affects people differently. Yeah, that's true. She had to have hit him after Nagel leaves. And I mean, she has to reverse in 60 feet. It means that she had to have pulled in front of the home. Maybe too. Like, or maybe he got out of the car further down. Because if Julie Nagel saw her pull up 3 times, she could have pulled up a 4th time. And like they might have been fighting where she's like, no, we're not going. And he's like, stop the car. Like, who knows? And then he gets out and starts walking. Is it downhill? Downhill? Towards the house. And like that's why she would have got a lot of speed too, because she was already downhill. And just aimed the car and hit him because she didn't want to go. She didn't want him to go. She's like, why can't we just go home? I mean, I could see the conversation and she didn't want to go in. Higgins just texted her like, okay, like, why are you lying to me? Yeah, so they definitely can't place him in the house. I mean, the Apple Health data, it's not accurate in that you can rely on it to tell you when you're taking steps or if you're actually climbing stairs, but I think it's accurate in elevation. It notices an elevation change, but it doesn't have to be stairs. It could be driving down a hill, and they were on a hill. And then steps, it can register in a car if you're going slow enough. So the way that she was pulling forward, those 3 little bits, she was probably going slow enough to register as steps. So I mean, I think that could be the steps that they see, for sure. I don't know if it was a student or if it was like I don't think it was I'm not sure if it was a student. I think it was someone at a game. I think it was like something happened at a sports game. I think they're not supposed to. Well, the attorneys are not supposed to be bringing up the harassment. So Brian Jr. brought it up today, but the witnesses testified to what they testify to, and if it comes in, it comes in. And I think that was the judge ruled on. I think that the prosecution, the defense definitely doesn't want it in, because it's going to look real bad for Karen if because if they just say they were getting harassed, but then it's like, why? If you go down that rabbit hole and like, oh, Karen was like giving Turtle Boy information and giving him pictures of people's kids and stuff, that's pretty bad. That's really bad. The jury's not going to like that. Thanks for joining. I just got monetized on YouTube, so I don't even know how everything works yet. So bear with me, but it'll be good. I'm trying to combat evil in this world. I'm trying to tell the truth, and not be driven by, the things in this world that drive people, which is primarily money. So I'm trying to, just combat and just speak the truth that other people aren't speaking, because it's not beneficial or it's not something that you can monetize or something, whatever. So that's what I'm attempting to do, is combat evil in the world, because I think there's a lot of misinformation. I think there's purposeful misinformation, smear campaigns. Wolfgang. So on Twitter, my name is Wolfgang Bodie, and that's like I don't know, it's my pseudonym. So if I ever get in trouble for saying anything, I'm going to be like, that's the character Wolfgang. That wasn't me. But I shouldn't get in trouble for saying anything, because I'm only speaking the truth. I might forget to say allegedly sometimes. I agree. I feel like their hands are kind of tied in this situation where they are afraid to. I feel like the prosecution is afraid to speak to their witnesses, because they don't want the defense. Because that's the first question that they ask everybody, is like, oh, when's the last time you talked to Mr. Lally? When's the last time you talked to the trooper? Did they help you prepare? Did they tell you to say this? And they don't want, because essentially, if you take an oath, you should be speaking the truth. And so I think that is kind of keeping the DA from doing its normal due diligence with witnesses. I think they're hesitant to do it because of, the implications of the appearance of coaching witnesses or whatever. I know. The Albert should definitely do a Ford Edge commercial after this. Why not? They all have Ford Edge, the vehicle of choice of accused conspirators. I think Tristan did great. Scanlon already, I don't know if everyone's heard it, but Scanlon, there was a audio that came out where Turtle Boy was interviewing Scanlon, and Scanlon didn't even know who Colin Albert was. He basically said that he first heard about this on the news, and he reached out to Karen saying, if you need this whole thing stinks, because a body found outside a house, like I think a lot of people, like, it raised people's alarms. He's like, if you need a PI, let me know, I'll be your guy, something like that. And so then Karen turned his name over to David Yannetti, and so David Yannetti called him into a meeting, and I think David Yannetti already had a PI, and so in the meeting, I guess they told Scanlon, this is what we think happened, and he gave him like $1,500 or $1,200 or something. And I think that they wanted him to be the whistleblower. And Steve Scanlon talked to his lawyer, and he gave the money back and was like, no, I know Brian Albert, and I'm not doing this. So Turtle Boy called him and questioned him about the meeting, and he was just like, no, David, anybody said that? I never said that. I don't know who Colin Albert is. I don't know any of this. I just thought it looked like a sketchy thing that happened. So he's definitely not a witness. Like, I gotta find that recording. That was like every piece of the conspiracy has fallen apart. David Yannetti said that in court too. He said in court, a colleague of Brian Albert's reached out to me and named Colin Albert and Brian Albert as potential suspects. He said that in court, knowing that it was false. And then he proceeded to say, Colin Albert drives a Ford Edge, and the whole audience clapped. Like, stuff like that. I'm just like, it's mind blowing that he thinks that he's going to get away with that professionally. I mean, I think that those attorneys are in trouble. Specifically for the whole federal investigation thing, they basically said that they only said it in court because it was reported in the media. However, they later found out that the media they were talking about was Turtle Boy, which they later found out that was through them. So it was circular. They put the information out through Turtle Boy and then cited it in their court documents saying, oh, it was in the media, so we can say it. But they're the ones that leaked it to Turtle Boy. So, I mean, that's corruption. That's the corruption that all of the Free Karen Read people are looking for. It's right there. And so I feel like they're definitely going to there's something's going to happen over that. We might not ever hear about it, but that's not right. I feel bad for these witnesses too. Oh yeah, Ryan Nagel. That's true. That's true. That's probably who's going to be there. I was thinking Colin Albert, but this makes more sense. I mean, Colin Albert's going to be a big one. I feel bad for him. I feel like it's a lot of pressure. But I mean, I don't even know how they really, because I mean, he was there for such a short period of time. It's just gonna be, what time did you leave? What time did you get home? And like, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, Chris Albert and Julie Albert put him inside the house. Like, they didn't. Like, all these people are saying that they saw him leave before the group came back from the bar. And then I think that there's also whoever gave Colin Albert a ride home had 360. I think the cars, they have video of it driving by the library or something. And then, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Even if he was there, he didn't do anything. Yeah, I think this is right too. I'm just like, I want to get into the good witnesses though, because like, I want to know what happens. Like, all these witnesses are just confirming that nothing happened inside the house. Nothing happened in their presence. The only people that we're going to learn anything from is the evidence and Jen McCabe and Kerry. like all of these people don't know anything, just like Brian Albert Jr. said. We don't talk about this case, we talk about the harassment because we don't know anything about what happened in this case. And I think that's very true. That would be a really cool Jen McCabe, though. She's going to be on that stand for a day, probably 2 days. I hope they would give her a half day, the day that they're gonna, the first day that she gets. Like Caitlin Albert was on for 2 days, and she really didn't have that much to say. I don't know why she was on for so long because I wanted to harass her about what an acquaintance is. Like, God, they need to get a grip. I would hope that. I would hope that any of the big witnesses they put on, like Brian Albert Sr. was over 2 days. So tomorrow is a full day, right? So there could be a lot's gonna happen tomorrow. I have no idea what the hell it's gonna show. I mean, if they do go through Ryan Nagel, his girlfriend, those witnesses, I feel like most of those witnesses would be pretty quick. They might not even cross-examine them. I feel like Ryan Nagel, they're gonna try to be like, oh well, there was no one there, right? I'm realizing this now. I got sucked in though at first. I definitely got sucked in at first. And the thing is, like, I didn't know how to like get court documents. And so like I think that's why I got sucked into that when I was like watching, but I didn't realize that a lot of it is like just wild conspiracies and not anything of substance behind it. Same thing at the beginning of this case too. Like I didn't. Now I know how to like find the information. Massachusetts, though, that the court documents in this case aren't that easy to get. The Idaho 4 case, though, I could get them myself. This case, though. Oh, I wonder what he did. Oh, is that? I wonder if that's note my objection. I watch her too. I follow her on TikTok anyway, and I think she's really, she's not even picking a side. She is just, laying down more like the legal terms of what's going on or what can happen, like the strategies, and I think she's good. But I did see that she was banned on TikTok lives for no reason. It probably is Turtle Riders. Like I had a lot of problems with them on TikTok as well. Like my account was, once I started talking about this case, when I started talking about the first few videos were good when I believed the conspiracy. As soon as I started talking truth, my account was like getting reported like left and right. And I like dropped, like I was monetized on TikTok and I was making like 600 a month. Not a lot, but something. And then like after I was getting reported all the time, I was like making $30 a month or something. So it was annoying, but I just kept doing it. Yeah, and that's what I think it is. It's like a lot of the people that are complaining about the First Amendment the most are the ones that try to shut other people down. And it's weird. It's like weird. Like Turtle Boy, I don't know. Kevin tried to invite them on to have like that side on to have like a debate. They don't want to debate. At this point, they can't even debate because the whole conspiracy has gone to shit. So it's like, what are they going to say? I'm like trying to catch up on the comments. I haven't heard this. So that's the thing. Like, I don't know how people switch. And like, so Turtle Boy makes it out to be all about him. So when I first started telling the truth about this case, he's like, "Oh, this guy was free Karen Reed," and I think he probably still says that. He was free Karen Reed at first, and then like, I don't know what he says. Oh, I don't know. I can't remember what the hell his reasoning is. I'm trying to be a contrarian. I'm trying to do this, but it's all about like him. Like he's trying to say, oh, I was using his content or something because I was like clipping his content, and like he said something about it. So he thought that was the reason that I switched, which is just bizarre. But that's the type of stuff he says about anyone that's on the other side. It's like, oh, they hate me. They're against me. That's why. This person has a beef with me. That's why. It's not because, they read the documents or they didn't any of their own research or they used their brain. It's, it's all about him. I've only watched one. I don't think I've ever watched a full Turtle Boy episode. I watched one that was about me, or when he first started like talking smack about me, and then I did the debate with him. Because he's like, this is the only guy they have, this boundless millennial, blah blah blah, TikTok guy. I'm trying to catch up on these comments. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's I think that's going to be a big factor when Carrie and Jen McCabe tell their story. I think I can't imagine that people are going to believe that they're both lying to. I mean, Carrie, Jen McCabe, they're going to say, oh, she's related. And they're like playing that so hard. Like, oh, you're really good friends with this person. You're related to this person. As if that means that people are going to conspire in a murder. It's like crazy. But I mean, whatever. Maybe they can say that about Jen just because she's related to other people. But like Carrie went with John O'Keefe to her semi-formal or something homecoming dance. So like they've been friends forever. And she's not even didn't even really know Jen McCabe before this. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting. She was the one that kind of like, because they made you question Jen McCabe so much in the beginning. She's the one that orchestrated everything. But then as soon as you realize that how many other witnesses corroborate what Jen is saying, it's like, no. Yeah, I wonder. I mean, we don't see any taillight pieces on the ground. I mean, I just don't think that realistically, they probably have a better video too. We've only seen that one video that was released. I mean, maybe they don't have more than that one, but I don't know. I just don't. We need the HD version because that version that was. I mean, maybe it's not HD, but I think you can't see. You can see that the taillight's already broken. You can see that no pieces fall out. I mean, I think that should be enough for the jury. Yeah, I'm interested in the EDR and so like I think there's different levels of EDR too. I think the defense is calling it something different than what the Commonwealth is. So EDR is like the classic black box, but Toyota has TechStream, which I think EDR is like if there's a deployment, it records it but text stream I think records more or something. So I don't know which one if she tried to clear them. Oh, thank you. I was torturing people on TikTok with those. Like that was why I was getting banned all the time on TikTok. But so I have a large inventory of them to put on shorts. That's the thing. She never did. She never said to the police, I saw him go in that house last night. Check that house. Like, no question about what happened. Nothing. And so, like, it just does not make sense. I just don't understand how, like, oh, she was brainwashed by Jen McCabe. Like, that is just so ridiculous. And I can't believe I believed that in the beginning. I mean, I didn't realize there was another woman there. So I feel like if Karen Reed had only called Jen McCabe, this whole thing might have flown, because then you wouldn't have another whole person that's going to contradict everything. It's going to be only Jen McCabe that's related to everybody. Like, Jen McCabe is lucky that she called Carrie too. Because I mean, they're trying to make it, the defense is trying to say, like, they're pointing out Jen McCabe all the time. They're trying to make it like Jen McCabe was the only person there. And we know that she wasn't. Yeah, I wonder. I think there's a rumor that John O'Keefe dated someone, and it might be true because they did have Paul O'Keefe and Aaron O'Keefe talk about this, that John O'Keefe had another girlfriend before Karen Reed, a serious one. Her name was Amy. I think she lived in Canton. And I think that, I can't remember, I think one of his friends or something, and Jen McCabe knew her. And I think when Jen McCabe was giving him directions to the Fairview Road home, she mentioned, maybe it wasn't Amy, but maybe one of Amy's friends or something, like, lives nearby. He's like, and she was like, oh, you know where so-and-so's house is or something, which could have set Karen Reed off, because I think amongst that group, they know that she has jealousy issues. And so I think that's the theory. That's one of the theories of what the fight was about. Is that something was mentioned about his ex-girlfriend while getting directions to Fairview, and that started the fight, which is so ridiculous. Like, that's so absolutely ridiculous if that's what happened. I mean, if that's what happened, she should be locked up forever, because it's absolutely ridiculous. Yep, that's what I'm hearing. And we got to see. And then Masshole Mafia is another one. Yellow Cottage Tales. Roberta. I have seen some of Roberta's lives too. I mean, I think it's unreal. So, like, the young jerks. So, like, someone told me, like, they were like talking smack about my channel or something. I tried to find it. I couldn't find it. But I feel like their lawyer that they have speak does sound good, but they are also, I don't know if they know that they're doing it, but they are pushing some misinformation. I think it's easy to do it because if you're in that other echo chamber, I mean, you just hear stuff, because there's so much that goes on at the trial. Like, I think it's hard to pay attention the whole entire time. So if you hear something and you're like, oh, is that what happened? Like when they were saying that the cop said that the taillight was smashed more in the garage. He specifically said, no, that did not happen. But his first part of the statement seemed like he was agreeing to it. And so a lot of creators cut out that last part where he's like, oh, no, that never happened. They cut out that part and just kept the first part. So now a lot of people believe that the cops admitted that it was broken in the garage. And so, like, I don't know I don't know, like, how do you find the source of it? Because some people are just seeing it and then believing that to be the truth. And so I'm always trying to find, when I see clips, I'm always trying to get back to the testimony to try to find the whole context, because it is hard to say what exactly was being said. Even when I edit clips, it's like, I think people know that they're edited, though, like the way that I put them together. I'm not trying to push a false narrative. I'm just editing clips. But some people are literally editing it as if it's the whole, the whole conversation, and it's kind of sketchy. I wonder if Karen's in this chat. I mean, watching this live right now. Hey, Karen. We don't hate you. We just think you belong in a straitjacket. I mean, that's the thing too. Like, if she is found guilty, if she does get, 10, 20 years, I don't know what the prison life is like. No idea. But I think that she's going to get accommodations either way. Because, well, if she really does have MS and all that stuff, I just don't know. I hate being cold, so I just hope that he was passed out right away and didn't feel it or didn't know. I hope. That'd be awful. So Turtle Boy, the early days. I mean, Turtle Boy, the early days of Turtle Boy, he was literally just bullying people, like punching down too. Like, he was attacking like panhandlers, and I don't know. It wasn't journalism at all. It was just like Facebook, like clipping pictures from Facebook and being like, look at this, quote that this person posted and this kind of thing. It was just like attacking innocent people. Maybe not innocent. Like, usually, I don't know. There was one where it was like a yoga studio, and I think he was saying that they were racist, but then it turned out that he really was just working for a competing yoga studio that had a problem with these other people. And so I don't know. I just think that I don't know. He's never really been journalism, so I don't know how he's going to say that. Oh, thanks for the memberships. Thanks for joining. I have to figure out how to use this. I just got monetized, so I'm trying to figure out the inner workings of this. I'm getting used to YouTube fast though. I was always on TikTok because I could just pull up the phone and record, but that's kind of, I don't know. I'll still do TikTok, but I think that YouTube is just a better platform. I feel like you reach more people, I guess, over time. TikTok, you reach people faster, but I think you get an audience. Because I think it's important that people are, accept the truth, using their brain. I think that it's easy to just fall into like an echo chamber and just, challenging whatever the status quo is, whatever it may be. In this case, it's the status quo is, it's a conspiracy. Yes, that's what I would see. He would take screenshots of, I'm just trying to remember, like, the first one that I saw, it was someone that I went to high school with, and it was her daughter or something stole like a Christmas wreath, and I think it was in the newspaper that a Christmas wreath was stolen from one of those like florist stores, and that they got it back. And that was the whole story in the real newspaper. And the turtle boy was like, this is the girl that did it. This is her mother. The mother is trash. This is all her Facebook posts. This is what the daughter goes out dressed like. This is the mother has, I think he was calling them crotch goblins or something. Like it was just like a really, really nasty, and I don't know, like he was saying that the mother was a getaway driver. Like, I don't know what's true or what's not, but like, I just think in general, it was just gross. And it seems like it's anyone that has a problem with somebody else. Cause like whatever that information was, whether it was true or not, it was definitely like from someone that vindictively gave that information to Turtle Boy. And I think that's what he works off of. It's people that have a vendetta against somebody else. And then he's going to, just like with Karen Reed, he's going to be that, just be the soldier for that person and trying to ruin whoever their enemy is. And I don't know how he hasn't gotten in trouble prior to this, but I just think he went way too far with this. Way too far with this. So, I mean, he's going to still have I wonder if when you go to jail, are you still allowed to have, I guess you probably can't do YouTube lives. I'm just wondering what he's going to do in jail. He could probably still blog from jail. I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah, Turtle Boy is, I have no idea. So, I mean, I feel like Turtle Boy, so he could be forgotten after this. It just kind of depends, though. I don't know. I don't know if his popularity is going to grow. Like, he could be a talking head on some show, maybe. I mean, I don't think he can just attack people, but I don't know. I'm surprised that they're even putting him on. Like News Nation had him on when he's like, it's a known fact. Like John O'Keefe was murdered by these people. And like she would qualify it after he says that and say like, well, just so the station, we don't know what's proven and what's not. But it's like to even let him go on it and say it like that, like it's a fact with such certainty. Like it's weird they would allow that. Yeah, Court TV seems to have taken on Nick. Wait, what's his name? Nick Rocco instead of Turtle Boy. Yeah, I mean, I have not been following his case at all, and I just want to find out. Like, I just have not been following it at all. I think Maxwell Mafia probably follows it. I just have no idea what. Like, is he going to have a trial? Like, I don't even know what the hell is going to come out of that. It'll be interesting to see if he has a trial, though. I mean, oh my God, imagine. Karen will be there. No, she'll be in jail by then. Oh, I saw Nick Rocco hit on a scratch ticket. It was on HGTV. Really interesting. I need to look that up. Well, that would be an interesting trial. I mean, he's definitely going to have supporters out there being crazy. You'd think so, but you would also think that Karen Reed would take a plea after admitting it to 12 people, and she didn't do that. Maybe Turtle Boy's going to get Alan Jackson if he can afford it. Well, I guess they can crowdfund it. I mean, I think that Karen Reed has 300 grand or something money raised. So, I mean, did she get all of her money back that she spent? I don't know. Now I'm trying to follow this chat, so I'm like really interested about the whole Nick Rocco thing. He's a hairdresser. Like, I don't know if we're talking about the same person or not, but I'm starting to go down this. Was he kicked off for good or just a week? I mean, I wonder what he did. There was one time I got I got stuff taken down for the, so it was weird. So the Michael Morrissey video, when he came out and did his speech, Turtle Boy had a response to that that was like, "You fat," you know, we know what he was saying. Like, he was saying all kinds of stuff. I posted clips of that in my video responding to it, and my video got like taken down immediately for like harassment or bullying or something like that. And Turtle Boys was still up. And I think I was watching a live that Masshole Mafia was doing, and she was talking about the same thing and clipping it, and hers got taken down right away. So I was like, what is going on? I mean, I don't think it could be because of that, because I think he's been doing that for a very long time. I have no idea, though. All right, I'm going to wrap up this live, but thanks for joining this. Tomorrow's a full day. I mean, if I have time, I will go live tomorrow, but sometimes I can't even catch up to the testimony. So I need those half days to like catch up on 2 days worth. But we'll see. You never know. If I can watch it live, then I could get on live and just talk about it. But I think it's interesting. I think the kids were all very believable. I think the jury, if they're an unbiased jury, they don't believe he went in the house at this point. And we'll see what's next. I think, Colin Albert maybe is coming soon, and Ryan Nagel and the other witnesses in the truck. So have a good night. Thank you all for joining.